Have you ever stopped to think about what it actually takes to build a society from scratch? I mean, what are the absolute non-negotiable ingredients? Well, today, we're going to find out. We're digging into the original blueprint for civilization, using two of the world's firsts, Sumer and Egypt, as our case studies. Let's get into it.
So, right off the bat, let's tackle the big question. What's the magic spark that turns a simple group of people into a civilization? Is it just about having a bunch of people living in one spot? Or is there, a specific recipe, a set of building blocks you have to have in place? That's the blueprint we're here to uncover.
Okay, so the official definition actually gives us our first major clues. A civilization is a group of people with a high level of social organization, culture, and technology. Those three things right there, organization, culture, and technology, those are our key ingredients. And we're about to see exactly how Sumer and Egypt mix them together.
All right, first things first. Before you can even think about building pyramids or writing epic poems, you gotta eat. It's that simple. The absolute bedrock of any society, the foundation everything else is built on, is solving the problem of hunger. You just can't build a complex world on an empty stomach.
Now, the Sumerians, they had it rough. The land of Mesopotamia had these scorching hot summers, almost no rain, and rivers that would flood like crazy without any warning. But here's the amazing part. Instead of giving up, they got smart. They engineered these incredibly complex irrigation systems, canals, dams, you name it, to control the water. And they invented the plow, which was a total game changer for farming. This is so key. They didn't just survive their environment, they mastered it. They literally reshaped the world around them to make it work for them.
So, once you have a stable food supply, something incredible happens. The population just explodes. But that success brings a whole new challenge. How in the world do you organize thousands of people? You've got farmers, builders, leaders. How do you keep it all from turning into total chaos? Well, you need a structure.
And the solution that just about every ancient society landed on is something called a hierarchy. It's basically a system for organizing people into different ranks or levels of importance. Think of it like a ladder. Or, in Egypt's case, a pyramid. Every single level has its own specific job and its own status. And Egypt's social pyramid is the perfect example of this. At the very bottom, you have the peasants. This was the biggest class by far, doing all the hard work, farming the land and building the monuments. A step up, you got your artisans, the skilled workers. Then you have the scribes, who were super respected because they could read and write. Near the top, you find the powerful priests and government officials. And right there at the peak, the one and only pharaoh, who wasn't just a king, he was seen as a living god. The genius of this system is that every single layer needed the others. No peasants, no food. No scribes, no records. No pharaoh, no divine order. Every piece was essential.
And how did you know who was who in this pyramid? A lot of it was visual. This quote is talking about things like clothing or headdresses. If you saw someone walking around in incredibly detailed, fancy clothes, you knew right away they were a big deal. Your status was something you wore for everyone to see.
Okay, but a social structure isn't quite enough to keep things running smoothly. You need rules. You need a government to enforce those rules and to organize those huge projects like building canals. This is the next critical piece of the puzzle, a formal system of leadership and law.
So being a ruler back then was a massive job. Kings and pharaohs weren't just sitting on thrones looking important. No, they were enforcing laws, collecting taxes to run the whole operation, making sure those life-saving irrigation systems were maintained, and leading the army into battle. And all of that authority was backed by a powerful belief that they were either chosen by the gods or, in the pharaoh's case, were actual gods on earth.
And this was a revolution. King Hammurabi of Babylon didn't just make up rules as he went along, he had them carved into stone for everyone to see. Hammurabi's code is one of the very first written sets of laws we've ever found. And think about what that means. By writing them down, justice was no longer just some random decision. There was now a standard, a formal system for everyone in the kingdom. That was a truly radical idea.
Okay, so we've got food on the table and we've got law and order. But what actually holds a people together? What gives them a shared identity, a sense of us? That's where culture comes in. The beliefs, the stories, the gods, and the communication that creates that common bond.
Just let that number sink in for a second. The ancient Egyptians worshipped more than 2,000 different gods and goddesses. This wasn't just a Sunday thing for them. Religion was woven into the absolute fabric of their daily lives, affecting everything from how they farmed to how they partied. And there's a word for this: polytheism.
Both the Sumerians and the Egyptians were polytheistic. Their gods often represented forces of nature, the sun, the river, the sky. People would pray and make offerings to them for, well, pretty much everything, hoping for a good harvest or for protection in war. It was this shared worldview that gave meaning to their entire existence.
Now, speaking of beliefs, one of the most powerful ideas in Egyptian culture was their concept of the afterlife. They believed that when you died, your soul went on this epic journey to another world. But, and this is a big but, it needed your physical body to get there. This one belief, this is the key that unlocks so much of their culture, especially their famous practice of mummification.
And the process itself was just incredible. It was this super complex, sacred ritual that could take more than 2 months to complete. The priests were basically part surgeon, part spiritual guide. And notice they left the heart behind. They believed the heart was the center of your intelligence and personality, and that it would be weighed by the gods to judge your life. This entire massive undertaking was all driven by that one powerful belief in a journey after death.
So, last question. How do you keep all this knowledge, your laws, your history, your stories, from being lost to time? The answer is writing. The Sumerians came up with cuneiform, using a stylus to press wedge-shaped marks into wet clay. The Egyptians, meanwhile, created their beautiful hieroglyphics, these amazing picture symbols. These writing systems were so much more than just a way to communicate. They were a technology for memory, allowing these civilizations to build a permanent record of their world.
So, there we have it. We've walked through the blueprint. We've seen how these ancient peoples solved the fundamental problems of survival, organization, and shared identity. But does any of this really still matter?
I mean, really think about it. We still need a stable food supply, right? It just comes from global supply chains now. We still have social structures and governments. They're just way more complex. And we are definitely united by a shared culture and stories. They're just spread through technology instead of clay tablets. So are these ancient ingredients, food, order, culture, and technology, are they still the fundamental building blocks of our world? It kind of seems like the blueprint laid down thousands of years ago is a lot more timeless than we think. What do you think?